So guess what happened?
What happened?
Somebody got offended at something we said in our last show. So,
right.
We're going to do this show. This is one of our special reports.
Yes.
Real Speak special reports. And it's all about Leviathan.
Leviathan spirit, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to expose the Leviathan spirit in this show. If you don't know what that is yet, that's fine. You'll know by the end of the show. But let's just talk about the state of the world right now. Okay? We've got this awful situation, especially in places like media, social media, communications, phone calls, where we've got miscommunication, misunderstanding, misintent, anger, confusion, separation, fights, between people, breaking up relationships, and a spirit of offense. Like everybody just gets offended all the time for like anything, anything at all. It's like people are like.
It seems like a new thing.
Yeah, it's gotten worse, right?
I think so. I vaguely remember having like my father and my uncles talk to each other.
Oh yeah.
Just amongst each other.
Yeah, have conversations.
And have conversation. Yeah, okay. And if there's a disagreement, we raise voices.
Yeah.
And, adult conversation. But the point is, there's a conversation.
And
there's over disagreements. And so that that for me is the norm. Especially the past year or so, but I would say in the past 10 years, it's been this increase of, it's like jump to attack. It's like reactionary almost.
Yeah, like nobody even thinks anymore. They just like jump on each other's throats, right?
Yeah.
And so what we've discovered, and we're so grateful for this because it helps us to keep our sanity, is that it's not the people, really. There's a spirit.
Yes.
There is a global demonic assault going on.
Yes.
By the spirit of Leviathan.
Right.
So we're going to get into it, and we're going to describe what the spirit is.
Yeah, what is this Leviathan?
What it does, and we will, we'll dip into some scripture just to help explain.
Right.
Because the Bible actually gives us these explanations, about the characteristics of this spirit. So we really encourage you to just take a listen, because I am positive, no matter who you are or what you believe, this spirit is affecting you. So if you are having fights with your friends, if you're constantly engaged in online battles with Facebook, if you easily get offended, or you find that people are always getting offended by anything you say, if you are putting your words out there, like you say one thing and then the person just hears a completely different thing.
Right.
Things like misintent, like here's a prime example of misintent, right? You say to me, you look really nice today.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right?
Right.
And my response is, oh, so that means I don't really look nice every other day? Okay?
Yeah, and of course,
And you're like, what?
No, that's not right.
Or like, have a nice day. And the person's like, oh, don't tell me what kind of day to have. I mean, like, really, people just like, it's getting offended very, very easily. There's something that's taken over.
Right. Well, it's the spirit of offense. It's the whole point is to exacerbate what would normally be a situation that would be kind of like calming down or self-correcting.
Right. So, like, for example, you'll say something that you think is really clear, but to the other person, they hear something completely different. And the whole point is to create anger and offense and to break the relationship up.
Yes. So
how many people have you seen having falling outs recently? This spirit of Leviathan is part of that. It's one of the characteristics. Okay, I have a list here.
Okay.
That I'm going to describe the characteristics of the Leviathan spirit, and then we're going to go through each one of them in a little more depth and pull up some references so that people can have a better understanding. And we hope by the end of this special report, people will feel like they can get their sanity back, because if you understand that there's a spirit, then you know how to fight this.
Yeah. Or
in this case, there's a special way to do it, because, and we'll get to that at the end of how to deal with this, right? So that you can have, maintain your relationships. Don't lose your friends. Don't break up with people.
Right.
I mean, to be able to like go back to what you were saying earlier about when your father and your uncle could just have conversations with each other without fighting all the time, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So here are the characteristics of Leviathan. It twists communications. It hisses lies. It darts back and forth between people.
Right, the darting back and forth.
Yeah. I say something to offend you, and then you react and say something back to offend me, and then I say something to offend you for offending me. See what I mean?
But here's the thing. It's like the initial statement might not have been, the purpose wasn't to offend.
No, that's the misintent.
That's the whole
because
purpose.
It hisses lies. It creates an illusion of confusion and misintention. So somebody will say something and they mean well, but you hear it and you're like, I can't believe they said that to me. It's like, whoa, So
yes, that's right.
So the other thing is it dismembers relationships, and these are important words to use to describe it. Because wait till we get deeper into this. It stirs up trouble amongst people, groups, communities, nations.
Mm-hmm.
It stops you from getting out of slavery or bondage, or stops you from getting free from something. So if you're stuck in a situation that's really bad for you and you're trying to leave that situation, Leviathan will show up to try to stop you.
Start to become muddled.
From getting out.
Right.
Yeah. Then it shows up to stop you from stepping into something good.
Right.
Like if you're about to get a big promotion, or you're about to take a big trip or journey into like a new phase of your life, and like there's promises, God's promises for you to have a good life and to be healthy, wealthy, and prosperous, or whatever it is that you're going after. The Leviathan will show up to stop you from getting that inheritance or going into that new job or promotion. It also shows up during deep moments in your spiritual life.
Yeah, right. So I guess that can be if something traumatic happens.
Yeah, I mean, like it's described as being a sea monster. It's always in the sea.
Yes.
So the sea, it's metaphorical for when you're in like deep spiritual moments in your life. That is where this monster spirit will meet you. Is in those deep areas. So if you're having trauma, or you're going through some kind of a breakthrough, or you're having like a revelation of some kind in your life, and you're going through a real spiritual journey, that's where Leviathan will meet you. And
the purpose of Leviathan in a situation like that, what is to stop your spiritual growth?
Yes, because that's actually another one of its things is that it's a coiled serpent, which means that it suffocates you and it cuts off your oxygen supply. Right? Just like a snake would like suffocate its victims. So that's the whole point, is to stop the flow of spiritual life in your life.
Right.
And actually the way that shows up is through slumber, through being tired. Great example is, I know somebody's listening to this and has this example. You are trying to show somebody important to you, like a documentary or film. You're like, you have to watch this movie. It really, really like woke me up to the truth. And it's like a deep spiritual, enlightening topic. And the person sits down in front of the movie and they fall asleep.
Yes.
Okay? That is Leviathan cutting off their circulation during a time when they're supposed to be getting spiritual food or going through some sort of a discipline in order to grow spiritually. Leviathan has the ability to grab a hold of you and pull you down with it.
Right. Is it because we're talking about spiritual? It's in the spiritual domain.
Yeah, it's a spirit, and spirits are real.
Yeah.
So it has the ability to like grab a hold of you. And pull you down into the abyss, into the depths of that dark place that it's trying to bring you and everybody with it.
Yeah.
Like a sinking ship. Leviathan has fiery, burning words. It has a fiery mouth. And of course, that's not just limited to speech. That's the pen or the keyboard as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people who's got these vicious.
Well, I think of trolls.
Trolls, yeah, the
the
most
attacks.
vicious, awful, cutting, burning words. I mean, have you ever had somebody say something to you that was just, it was so fiery that it just like, it seared your soul almost, and like, you know, you'll never forget how they said that, or it's almost like you won't ever forgive them for saying such a thing to you.
Yeah, very abusive.
Yeah, abusive words. That is Leviathan. And the thing about these words is that it has the ability, through words, to infect a whole group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, media would be a great example. So one troll in a fake news media outlet will say some words in front of a group of people, and then all of a sudden all those people start buying into the lie and going along with it, and they all start, you know, they get discouraged, because the whole point of these burning words is to discourage the hearts of people who are trying to strive and move forward.
Gotcha.
Here's an interesting one. Leviathan shows up when you are in a contradiction of sorts in your life.
Okay.
And the whole point is to try to get you, to try to like come and give you unsolicited advice, to try to get you to blame somebody or to blame God for your problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I can tell you why everything's wrong in your life.
Yeah.
When you're in a situation that you can't, you know, you're in some kind of a contradiction, like, I'm hanging in there, I'm trying to do good, but bad things keep happening to me. And, you know, maybe you're going through some kind of a growth spurt or a trial or something, and you're, and it's, you know, I don't know what it is. It could be good, it could be bad. But either way, Leviathan will show up in that vulnerable moment to try to tell you, blame God. See?
Yes.
You know, your life is awful, and this is why. Right? So that's, Leviathan does that. The description of Leviathan also talks about how it is the king of the children of pride.
Wow.
And the scales on this monster are the scales are its pride, and it is wound so tight that no air can get in between. So it is extremely prideful. So if somebody has like the spirit of Leviathan on them, they are very, very prideful, which also says that, you know, there's nothing you can tell them because they already know everything.
Right.
You can't, yeah.
You know, and just, we all know that there's always somebody that our associates or friends that can help us on anything.
Yeah, and that's the, you know, the truth is that everybody can learn something from somebody.
Yeah.
But some people are like, nope, I know it all, and there's a pride there, and what that pride does also is it makes the person, it cuts them off from learning anything. It makes them unteachable. And it also blocks them from being able to hear the truth about anything.
Without being offended.
Yeah. Or, you know, they get, that offense is what stops the truth. So if you're trying to tell somebody the truth about something, and sometimes the truth can hurt, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you're like, I have to tell you the truth about the guy you're dating or whatever it is, right? There's like, you want to tell your girlfriend the truth about something, and they're so prideful they won't let you in. They're locked tight. That is Leviathan. And to go along with that, and here's the funny thing, because we'll get into it in a moment, because Leviathan, one of the words that describes it in the Bible is a crocodile.
Crocodile.
So it does live in denial. Boom, boom, boom. I know that was really corny, but actually it describes, you know, it is a creature of the deep. It's a crocodile, like monster that lives in the Nile River and goes down into the Nile River. Yeah. But going along with that pride and unteachableness, being unable to hear the truth is somebody who has like very, very strong denial. Yeah. You know, that's also part of Leviathan.
Has Leviathan also been described as a twisting serpent?
Yes. It's a twisting serpent, and it twists your words.
Yes. Now, I think also the analogy with the crocodile, the way Leviathan has been described there, is that since crocodiles have over 1,000 teeth, and that so when a crocodile bites its prey, it has to twist. It twists its body.
Yes.
In order to break apart and tear.
That's also where it comes into play about how it can grab a hold of you and
Right.
pull you down with it.
Yes.
That's what crocodiles do.
No, that's right.
The crocodile's teeth, they have about 1,000 teeth, and the mouth of the crocodile makes up about 1/4 of the entire body. And when it bites, like a third of the power of that animal actually goes into its bite. So it grabs a hold of you. It can take control of you and grab a hold of you. But those teeth, they're not like our teeth. They can't grind, and they can't cut because they're just shaped like straight nails. So all they can do is pierce and grab you.
Yeah.
And sometimes crocodiles will tag team each other. Well, they'll have like one large animal where one crocodile will hold the animal while the other crocodile grabs a hold of another, like a limb or something, and then starts to twist.
Right.
So that's where the dismemberment comes in. The purpose of this creature, this spirit, is to dismember relationships, dismember groups by twisting communications, by getting into your circle of friends and hissing lies.
That's right. Yeah, and it's probably happened in your personal life, or even in business, in your business life as well.
Yeah.
You know, with meetings and miscommunication between employees and things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I know it's happened to me. And let me just give you two more of the characteristics that I have on my short list here, and then we'll go into a little bit of stuff to back it up, so that you can hear some of the scripture that describes this spirit.
Absolutely.
It has a hardened heart of stone. Yes. And you know, that's actually happening to a lot of people right now, and that's part of the Leviathan spirit. People's hearts are becoming hardened.
Right.
You know, sometimes you can like reach somebody's heart by telling them something to break through, you know, but if somebody who has a hardened heart, there's no sympathy at all. Yeah. You can't reach them because they're like stoic, hardened warriors. So that's part of the Leviathan spirit as well. Yeah. And then also, here's one last part here. It creates constant strife, insomnia, depression, and melancholy in its victims. Wow. So with all those things we listed, like if you've got a friend that says something, you know, bad about you with fiery words, and then you've got miscommunications and trolls and people, like you're trying to say something and your thoughts, like it's like they always take that wrong. You're like, I didn't say that. I didn't mean it that way, or you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So, and then you're just like your life's a mess because your relationships are breaking up. You know, that's because you've got Leviathan in your life. Yeah. Leviathan, like I said, there's a global assault going on right now. Yeah. Everywhere. It's in personal relationships. It's in communities. It's in the media. It's especially on Facebook and social media. It's in your emails. It's on your phone calls. When you have conversations with people, it's everywhere. So we're going to go into what to do and how to deal with it, because there's a very specific way of dealing with this so that you will stay safe, that you won't have your life ruined by this awful thing, right? That you can overcome it, and you know, and you can also move forward and help others. Yeah, that's the most important thing. So we're going to get to that, but first let's just go and read through a couple of references here in Scripture that describe Leviathan. Okay, so in Isaiah 27 it says, "In that day the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea." Right, so that last message, that last verse was talking about it being a dragon, a monster that was in the sea. So that's one way of describing Leviathan. And you know, when the sea is talked about, it's metaphorical sometimes, where it's talking about how the sea is the deep things of God. So that's what we mean by Leviathan shows up when you're going through deep spiritual experience and growth.
Deep matter.
Now, when we were saying about how Leviathan shows up when you're trying to get out of slavery, and also when you're trying to enter into a new thing or a promise or something good in your life, this happened in the Bible where God was judging Pharaoh, trying to release the Israelites from Egypt, from 400 years of slavery. And this is what it says in Ezekiel 29. It says, Speak and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great monster that lies in the midst of his rivers, that has said, My Nile is mine, and I myself have made it. I will put hooks in your jaws and make the fish of your rivers cling to your scales.
Right.
And I will bring you up out of the midst of your rivers, and all the fish of your rivers will cling to your scales. We're going to talk more about those scales because the scales are the pride of this spirit.
Okay, right.
And then likewise, when the slaves were freed, they were people in the wilderness. And now being in the wilderness is between getting freed from slavery and then moving into the promises that God has for you.
Right.
That's what people of the wilderness means.
Yeah.
They're in transition.
Yeah.
Right?
They haven't received the inheritance.
Right. They're in transition. They've been freed and they're getting ready to step into the promises that God has for their life.
That's right.
That is where Leviathan shows up, is in that transition
to prevent
field.
you from getting to where what was promised to you.
Also in the Bible, so after they were freed from Egypt, it shows up again when there was they sent a number of people to go out to spy out the land, the promised land, right? And so 10 of them came back with a bad report, and 2 people came back with a good report, saying, "Oh, the land is good, and we can take it." And the rest of the people came back with a bad report.
That's right.
And they came back, and what they did was, it was with their mouths.
Mm-hmm.
They infected an entire nation
mm-hmm.
in 10 minutes. And throughout the evening, the bad report spread and infected all the people in all of their tents, a lot like what media does today. Okay?
What was the bad report?
The bad report was, there's giants in that land.
Mm-hmm.
We can't take them.
Yeah, okay. So we're talking about the land of Canaan.
Yes, this is the land of Canaan, which was also the promised land. And God was telling people, go take that land. The land was occupied. They said that, we can't do it. There's giants.
Yeah.
And, we don't have what it takes. Even though God said, go, I'm telling you to go. I'm with you. Don't worry about that. I'm going to take care of that.
Right.
After all the miracles just happened with the parting of the sea and freeing them from slavery.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? But they came back with a bad report, and everybody believed the bad news. And it infected an entire people, and it ended up making them make really bad decisions, and then they ended up not making it into the promised land until the next generation.
Right.
And one of the 2 people that came back with the good report was Joshua and Caleb.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they were trying so hard to say, no. The truth is that, we can do this. We can do this. But instead, the Leviathan spirit got hold of the entire nation, and they, you know what they did to the whistleblowers, to the truth tellers? They said stone them.
They stoned them, or they said to stone them.
Yeah, they said that they should be stoned. So that's how they treat the couple of people that come through telling the truth, whereas the rest of the people are just going to believe the bad news.
Right.
The fake news.
Yes.
The bad media.
And when it's popular, that's popular news.
Exactly. So here's another interesting verse. We were talking about the people in the wilderness as in people that are in transition in their life.
Right.
And so this is Psalm 74 describing it, saying, You crushed the heads of Leviathan. You gave him as food for the creatures of the wilderness.
That's a very interesting line. Very interesting. Yeah.
So biblically, it's like we're supposed to be able to overcome Leviathan by God overcoming this.
Well, this isn't.
God cuts the heads off.
Because you can't. This isn't a spiritual thing that you can fight alone.
Yeah, you can't.
It's not meant for you to go head to head with this particular form of attack.
And you're not supposed to. I mean, and we're going to get into that too. So as far as creatures of the wilderness, the Leviathan spirit was supposed to be cut up by God, like a piece of sushi.
Yeah.
And fed to the people in the wilderness.
Yes,
as,
that's right.
As food for them.
Yes.
And then even after that, that's one thing that is said in the other verse in Numbers, where Joshua talks about it and says that, these people are our bread, meaning we're supposed to eat them for lunch.
Yeah.
We're supposed to overcome these things, and God's going to chop them up for us, and we'll overcome them, and, they'll be our food for our growth.
Yeah.
Right? But instead, we let Leviathan take us out sometimes and pull us down with it. and we don't overcome it when we can.
Yeah.
And this comes from the book of Job 41. And this is God speaking to Job, and this is when Job's in his period of contradiction.
Okay.
And God's describing what this spirit of Leviathan is like. Can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook, or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose, or pierce its jaw with a hook? Will it keep begging you for mercy? Will it speak to you with gentle words? Will it make an agreement with you for you to take it as your slave for life? Can you make a pet of it like a bird, or put it on a leash for the young women in your house? Will traders barter for it? Will they divide it up amongst the merchants? Can you fill its hide with harpoons, or its head with fishing spears? If you lay a hand on it, you will remember the struggle and never do it again. Any hope of subduing it is false. The mere sight of it's overpowering. No one is fierce enough to rouse it. Who then is able to stand against me? Who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. I will not fail to speak of Leviathan's limbs, its strength and its graceful form. Who can strip off its outer coat? Who can penetrate its double coat of armor? Who dares open the doors of its mouth, ringed about with fearsome teeth? Its back has rows of shields, tightly sealed together. It's also scales in a different translation.
Right.
The scales are tightly sewn together. Each is so close to the next that no air can pass between them. They are joined fast to one another. They cling together and cannot be parted. Its snorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like the rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. It's fiery words.
Yes.
Smoke pours from its nostrils, as from a boiling pot over burning reeds. Its breath sets coals ablaze, and flames dart from its mouth. Strength resides in its neck. Dismay goes before it. The folds of its flesh are tightly joined. They are firm and immovable. Its chest is as hard as a rock, hard as a lower millstone. When it rises up, the mighty are terrified. They retreat before its thrashing. The sword that reaches it has no effect, nor does the spear of the dart of the javelin. Iron it treats like straw, and bronze like rotten wood. Arrows do not make it flee. Sling stones are like chaff to it. A club seems to it but a piece of straw. It laughs at the rattling of the lance. Its undersides are jagged pot shards, leaving a trail in the mud like a threshing sledge. It makes the depths churn like a boiling cauldron, and stirs up the sea like a pot of ointment. Stirs up trouble, right?
Right.
It leaves a glistening wake behind it. One would think the deep had white hair. That means
The foam, the turbulence, and the
white hair, like the white caps on the
white
ocean,
caps on the
stirring
ocean.
up the ocean,
That's right.
stirring up trouble.
Right.
Nothing on earth is its equal, a creature without fear. It looks down on that are haughty. It is king over all that are proud. So this is not just a low-level spirit.
No.
This is a high-level king demon. It's
That's
a
right.
demon king.
That's right.
The king of the proud. Now, what this is really telling you is that you should not fight this thing. You know, sometimes you have to go through spiritual warfare and you have to battle.
Yes.
But in this case, you can't fight it. There's a way to beat it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of these characteristics
Okay.
in our world that we're seeing right now. We've got, online disputes.
Mm-hmm.
I see it all over the place. Great example is the flat earth debate.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
All I know about the flat earth debate is that every time
Mm-hmm.
I see anyone engage in it at all, the flat earth, globe earth debate, people turn into vicious monsters against each other. It turns into huge fights and arguments. The most vicious biting words come out in comment sections on blogs, and it breaks up relationships, it breaks up friendships. People, people get really easily offended. They're like, they start forcing their unsolicited advice and opinions all over each other. It is like, I don't want to touch the flat earth thing with a 10-foot pole. People, the earth is flat. I'm not talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going there because it's a cesspool of Leviathan.
Yeah.
What do you think, T?
Same thing. It's the same technique seems to be used on all the new subjects now, where if someone is even asking someone else if they know, in this example, what flat Earth is, or do they believe in it, that seems to be the biggest thing. You have to believe in this new thing.
You have to.
It's not that I'm looking at this concept that's been out recently. And they're talking about how they are convinced. It's not only do I believe in the concept, I expect you to believe it, or else I'm offended.
Mm-hmm.
It's the expectation of acceptance. Something's changed in the environment. I can't put my finger on it. I'm not sure exactly how it's gotten to this point, but it does seem like that. Everyone is entitled to their own view, their own opinion, and take on things. In their voyage, their personal journey in this world. But I don't know. It seems like something has happened with how we accept each other's ideas and opinions as something that can be tolerated. That seems to have gone away. And can anyone explain why is that the case? What's going on there? Since when did we stop accepting each other as human beings, or look at each other as you would a brother and sister, and at least give someone the respect of having them maintain their opinion and gladly share it without having to be attacked? I'm not sure. Maybe it's a breakdown in communication and how we've forgotten how to treat one another with some level of mutual respect. But I think that's what's happened here. Is a lot of it is breakdown in communication, the inability to being able to carry a conversation. But what that might also point to is a laziness in our communities, in our society, of having the patience to hear someone out in a view that is different from your own. But what's this push to accepting all these new things and just attack anyone who is looking at who's holding on to their views? And what is that all about? That it's like you're not looking for a debate. I mean, if I was to attack someone, if I was to ask them a question and I didn't agree with the answer, is it necessary to verbally attack them? I'd probably just nod my head and just, I don't know, go ahead and change the subject. Yeah, it's interesting. Recently, it seems like we can't seem to have a nice logical debate. It's not even a logical debate. More, it's just people sharing their opinions on things, their worldview, without it coming to some kind of major disagreement. But actually, what I think is interesting is the alternative views that people hold, and everyone seems to have their own flavor of it. That seems to be the majority to attack, to be on the short wire and the short leash. And that's why we're covering the Leviathan spirit, or the spirit of Leviathan, this entity, this spirit, this real spiritual entity out there called Leviathan. Because what it does is it works within the cracks of the differences between two people, and it builds on those cracks. Now, most of us have seen Lord of the Rings movies, and what I liked about the movies were you had this ring, and anytime the ring was in a group of people, especially the scene in the movie where all the heads of these different kingdoms met and were trying to decide who was going to be the ring bearer and take it to the mountain to cast the ring into the lake of fire to destroy it. As they're deciding to do that, and this ring is sitting there in this circle around all of them, it's working its magic. And these kings all of a sudden are in heated arguments against one another, in fighting with one another. Well, that's the Leviathan spirit. That's what we're talking about. And you might have had it when you're trying to call a business meeting, and you're for your home, for your business, or you're setting an appointment for getting your car fixed. Or maybe it's just, maybe you're trying to meet your significant other over and over again, and for whatever reason, the schedule just keeps being pushed back and keeps changing during the workday. And in all these situations, it opens the door for the person on the receiving end to take it the wrong way and to come back to say something that is offensive back to you. And if you take that as an offense, instead of seeing it for what it really is, then there you go. You have an argument. So it's a real thing, and it works both ways as far as getting people to disagree with one another. But to fight this spirit, you cut it off. You don't give it fuel, and you stop it dead in its tracks. And we recognize it for what it is. We step back from the situation. If it looks like it's turning into, when you see this thing building, this Leviathan thing taking over and creating an atmosphere, an offensive atmosphere, and you step back from the situation and find a way to diffuse it. And I think that's how we need to go going forward when it comes to interacting with our friends, our families, our acquaintances, people online. When communications get jumbled. And I think with all this technology, one of the things that seems to be under attack is communications and logistics and travel, transportation. And the thing that is common for the traveling and the communication is that something is being transported from one place to another. In communication, it's words, it's a voice. In travel, it's you, your entourage, what have you. And in both those situations requires the person receiving or the destination there's enough information so that both these things are accomplished and go smoothly. Well, the Leviathan spirit tries to work within that transaction and tries to create turmoil, strife between other people that you're supposed to meet, or between the person that's receiving the message. And then in the spaces where communication is not clear, logistics is not clear, it tries to twist the words. It tries to manipulate it so that there is a barrier. There is, and hopefully, a strife, that a rift that forms between you and the goal. So that's where we are, I think, with that spirit and how it impacts us.
Very well said. And so let's talk about how do you handle it? How do you deal with it? And there's only one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you would think that if you're being attacked by something that is evil and bad and demonic, that you have to strengthen yourself up and fight back, right?
Yeah.
This is one you don't fight.
No.
You do not fight. You don't fight fire with fire.
You can't do it alone.
You can't do it alone. You have to back off, and you have to let God step in and handle it for you.
Right.
So what you do is through meekness. Meekness, to be humble, through humility. That's how you fight this spirit. You back off, and I heard a good teacher and preacher, Lance Wallnau, was talking about it's kind of like wrestling, right? Sometimes you don't have to be I didn't wrestle. I don't know if you wrestled, T.
No.
But in wrestling, you've got the good guys versus the bad guys. And sometimes the bad guys are completely whooping the butt of the good guys, right? And the good guys can't do it, but maybe the good guy doesn't need to overcome and fight the bad guy that he can't handle. All he needs to do is get to the corner of the ring where he can tag in his partner, right? And as soon as he can, if he can just reach his partner to tag him in, then his partner will come into the ring and fight the bad guy for him.
Right.
So it's not like he has to overcome the monster all by himself. He just has to swap places with his partner who's a little bit bigger and better than him. And in this case, it would be, humble yourself. Be meek, especially when you're going up against somebody who has the Leviathan spirit over them.
Yes. Well, I mean, we are essentially talking about spiritual warfare.
Mm-hmm.
And in the spiritual realm, it's just a fact of the way things are. There are things in that world, in that domain, that are stronger than we are. And you can't battle these things with your will and with your ego.
It says in James 4:6-8, this is why it says God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. So let's try to apply that realistically. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're in a flat earth debate.
Okay.
With somebody, right? And you're saying it's a globe, they're saying it's round, it's getting really heated, right? Or they come at you and they're like, you have to watch these videos. You have to be convinced to believe the same thing that I believe, right?
Yes.
And there's all kinds of insults being flung around and everybody's getting offended, right?
Right.
In that situation, your knee-jerk reaction would be to fight back. They just offended me. I'm going to react and fight back.
So more verbal abuse.
Don't do it. Don't fight fire with fire. It's just going to make it worse. And that is the whole goal of this spirit, is to engage you, to get a hold of you, to trap you. Right. It's like, I can't believe that person said that to me on that forum. I can't believe that Facebook post. I'm so offended. I'm going to have to fight back. They want you to engage in fighting so that they can dismember all of us and pull us apart.
So in that situation, it's not even the person you're talking to. It's the spirit behind the communication between you two.
Yep.
That's creating that rift. That's creating that friction.
Yeah, and you could tell when somebody comes at you and it's like a loaded argument, and they're ready to go.
You're not going to win.
Yeah, they're ready to fight you. They're there with their crocodile teeth, and they're ready to just take you down with them. And they're like, so let's start debating about this. And it's like, you know what? If you say so, whatever, man. Mm-hmm. I don't care. What do I know? I don't know anything about that. I mean, whatever you have to say, okay, the flat earth thing, I heard somebody once say, I saw somebody come at them going, is the earth flat or is it round? And then all of a sudden they said, you know what? I don't know if it's flat and I don't know if it's round. And they walk themselves out of the conversation with humbleness and meekness. And by doing that, especially, you have to be humble and meek to the person that is all puffed up on pride, that's coming at you with an I know everything, and you have to do that.
The puffed up on pride thing, that dynamic that you talked about, the example we used was flat earth. But if you take the way the debate or the argument or the disagreement would start, and how it evolves, and how it ends in the end with someone having to be puffed up to basically verbally beat down at all costs the other person, that technique can be applied to the other topics that are in the mainstream media or in alternative media. So we're talking about flat earth, but it could be the transhumanist agenda, could be the anything. That the nature of the way communication is happening between human beings has changed. And I don't think it's for the better. That there are spiritual forces that are working their way into the human consciousness, into the dialogue, to disrupt and to break apart what would otherwise be possible stronger relationships.
I also want to mention that the alphabet agencies, the CIA and the NSA and all the other alphabets, we have found evidence, and then we put this into some reports as well, about the way that they map out human society. They map out people's behaviors, and they use this in their covert psychological warfare tactics. So a lot of these arguments, these online debates, things like the flat earth thing, nobody was talking about that 10 years ago, right?
Or even 3 years ago.
Or even 3 years ago. It popped up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it's like creating all of this division and havoc all over the place, and people are fighting and insulting each other and getting offended. As with many other of these agendas, the whole point is to throw a giant psychological fly in the ointment and get everybody really, really angry to create division, so that we're too busy fighting each other to come in unison against the common enemy and overcome these things that are being done with us. So this is where, and I have to add this too, these top level agencies, they are spiritual people.
Very much.
They want you to think that they're not. They want you to think that they don't believe in anything. But
or it's implied.
Right. But at the top of these agencies, we have been finding, especially in one of the interviews lately with the Dutch banker whistleblower, is that the people in charge of these things, they're Luciferians, right? And the Luciferian order actually has, like there's the Church of Satan or something. Yes. They actually have an order within the Church of Satan that's called the Leviathan order.
Yes.
Okay? So these people at the top, they know about this spirit. They know about the division that it's been causing. Yes. And they're planting it out there with all their money and all their power and all their media in the news and the fake news and manipulation and the psychological tactics and all the stuff they throw out there. They're doing it on purpose in order to create things to get people fighting with each other.
And fighting on things that would otherwise be petty. Fighting over small facts or disputes between bits of sentences. It's literally gotten to that.
It's done by design. It's a business model.
Yes.
They've got it mapped out, and they've got billions of dollars to fund the programs in order to make it go in the direction that they want. So it's done on purpose. So anyway, to finish this off, the way to handle this is through meekness and humbleness. We really suggest that everybody back away. When you come up against these things that you're offended, they're offending you, they come at you with fiery words, they're twisting your communication, there's confusion. When you come up against this stuff, the number one thing, the best thing is to recognize it for what it is. It is a spirit called Leviathan. The moment you can recognize it and you're aware, you can then take the right actions to deflate yourself. You can't control how somebody else reacts, but you can control how you react. So say, I know what this is. This is that Leviathan thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to react. I'll stay quiet. I'll be humble. I'll shut off my phone. I'll go take a walk. Whatever you got to do, do not engage. It will pull you down with it.
And see what happens when you do that.
You'd be surprised.
So it's interesting. You're not fighting fire with fire because, like we said, this particular form of attack is a higher level attack. You can't do it. So you have to dig into basically this is something that God's going to have to handle.
Yep.
But we're going in through humility and meekness. What happens is when you diffuse that situation, you're throwing water over fire, and by doing that, you'll be surprised how it completely diffuses. You give it no fuel.
That's right. I mean, for me, I'm sorry if anybody's a non-meat eater out there, but I love sushi. So when I think of that one verse about how God cuts up the serpent into pieces and gives it to his people as food when they're in the wilderness, when they're in transition, that's how I handle it. It's like, oh, I see somebody's puffed up on pride. I can detect that there's a Leviathan spirit going on. Yes. So I'm just going to step back, go in my prayer closet, talk to God, let God chop up the sushi eel, and then eat it for breakfast. So I can move into my promises.
And by coming out of that situation and then learning and knowing that you come out of there without it turning into a disaster, it basically becomes your food.
That's right.
So
anyway, thanks so much. We hope that this really shed some light. And please follow us on Facebook. Follow us on, subscribe to us on YouTube. Go ahead and visit our website, which is connected to our YouTube channel, which is realspeaks.com.
Yeah.
This has been a special report and conversation about Leviathan Exposed, but we do a regular weekly current events news show.
If you have any comments or questions or feedback about our Real Speaks shows, we ask that you go on to the Real Speaks website.
Yes, go onto the Real Speaks website and please leave them there. A lot of people do like to leave them on YouTube. It's just that sometimes we can't always get to every single one of those comments.
Right.
But this is a new show for us. We have been doing this for a while. This is just a new channel with a new look and a new everything. So for now, we're signing off. And God bless everybody. And we'll see you on the next Real Speaks special report.
Take care.